Okay, welcome back to the bench. We're going to continue with the SMT-10 mega truck build. We've already finished the axles, links, and servo saver and servo, and now we are going to work on the shocks. To build the shocks, it says you need open plastic bag too. Well, we had to do that because some of the bushings were in we had to do that because some of the bushings were in bag 2. Anyway, so we got this. So we're opening up the bag 2, bag D, open plastic. Whoa, what a morning. We opened up plastic 2 and bag D, and then all these plastic parts that we need to build these shocks. Now, if you haven't ever built shocks before, it can be confusing, but it's not that difficult. They also gave us shock oil. They gave us 30 weight shock oil, and we will use 30 weight shock oil. Like I said, we're going to build this with everything that came with the kit, except for the grease. I use my own grease. Other butter. Can't go home without it. Alright, so we have all the shock parts, shock oil. We have shocks with little yellow marks on the bottom painted on them, and shocks with little red marks painted on the bottom. So I'm sure one's front, one's back, who knows. We'll see what happens. Alright, so it starts out saying that we need the tubes, shock tubes, which are made out of metal. So we take a shock tube, and then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts that go in the shock tube. The first one that we're going to put on is the adjusting ring. I don't know what they call it on here, but it's a nut, basically. And that goes on the threaded side of the shock tube. With the again, make sure you orient the parts the way the picture shows them. Okay, next we have a bag full of little seals or O-rings that need to go inside this shock. And all we got to do is figure out which one goes where. Static and the silicon and static don't work too good. Alright. So we need an O-ring, a large O-ring, and then we need an AX8003. One of the shock valves has 2 holes, one has 3 holes, and one has 5, 6 holes, and one has 4 holes. And I'm sure, depending on how quickly you want your shocks to do their thing, I am going to start off with the 2 holes. That'll give the least amount of dampening, or the most amount of dampening. Not exactly sure which way that goes. So I'm going to put all of those on the top of the shaft. Alright, so we start off with the cup. Put in a small silicone O-ring. Then a spacer called AX800342. No, 5. Guys, these are something else here. Okay, so the spacers AX8003. Oh my goodness. 3. And there's no spacers on AX8033. Number 5. Okay, the diagram for these shocks is messed up, or the numbers are messed up. So, the spacers are either 1 or 2. This is a messed up situation. This is the first time I've run into this problem. I know shocks are tough to build. And if you look at these, the way they got this thing set up, it's all messed up. So AX80035 1. Okay, that's this. Then it says AX800335. Well, 335 is a valve. It's not a spacer. It won't even fit inside of there. So I am going to assume, which is a bad thing. You know what assume does? Makes an ass out of you and me. There is no spacers with a 5. Yes, there are. They're AX80035 5 spacers. Okay, so I'm going to put one of those on there, or in the cup. Here you're going to want to take off all the little tabs. Good set of cutters. I use these. That goes inside the cup. Then on top of that goes another small silicone O-ring. Then on top of that goes the valve. And this says AX80033 2. And it also says that goes on the top. This is not going to work because there's not enough 2s. So I'm going to put a 3 on the bottom. Don't ask me why. They're having so much problem with this. That looks like it's supposed to be a cupped type. Okay. I'm going to go with the 352. Not the 33. It's on the 35 tree. And it's number 2. And that's what it is. I think that's the way it's supposed to go. Okay, I do believe that the drawing is wrong with the 3 number. The AX80033, it should be 5s, because this little cup should fit over the top of this cup and snap in place. Okay, so the number, again, if you're building these shocks, the number on the shock says AX80033, and then those parts from that tree. Well, the first one says AX80035. That's the cup itself. And then everything after that says 3, and it should be 5. So where it says 8x80033, then the number 5, that should be 8x800355. And where it says 8x800332 should be 8x800352. Holy smokes. Okay, and then of course on top of this goes a large ring, silicon ring, and all that goes into the bottom of the shock tower or tube. Now this is where you want to make sure you get this tight, because this is where these axial shocks will tend to leak. Okay, now on the top, you take one of the shafts. I'm saying top because that's the way it is in the drawing. It's actually the bottom of the shock, but in the drawing it's the top of the shock. Okay, so we take this metal shaft, goes into the shock, goes into the top, or into the top of the shock here, or the bottom of the shock. The picture makes it look like a top because they got it oriented this way, but it's really the bottom of the shock. Okay, so you got this, and it has 2 different ends. And again, they are not showing you which end you should use where. A nut on the top of this, and there's a part of the threads are gone. The other one has completely threaded. This one's partially threaded. So the partially threaded one would be where you would want to stick your first washer. Then the AX80032. Okay, this is the actual, this is right. Okay, the other ones were wrong with the 0033, where it should have been 0035. Again, make sure you get those little pieces of plastic off the edges, or this just will not work right. It'll leak. Okay, then you put another washer and one of these little lock nuts. Now you want to hold the shaft, but you don't want to ding up the shaft. Okay, if you ding up the shaft, it could cause problems later. I don't think it will, but you could. Okay, and then if you take your trusty little wrench, again, there is the perfect size for that nut, and then tighten up the nut. There's actually a place on the end of the shaft that is sort of indented a place where you could actually put a wrench if you wanted to, if you got one. But if you just hold it with a cloth, tighten the nut up on top, and you're good to go. Alright, once you've got that done, place this inside the shock tower tube, and then out comes the bottom of the shaft. Then you need to get one of these fancy little, you call them link ends, but there's one name for them. And you have to turn that onto the shaft with one of these little rubber spacers. Getting these bad boys started and tightened on. You don't want to get them off center. If you do, they'll go on there crooked and they look funny, and it's just another pain in the butt. Okay, again, there's a little indentation to hold it with a wrench. Put your screwdriver inside here, or your tool, and turn. Alright, so this is what it looks like when you're finished here. These are lightweight shocks. Alright, and then it's time for the oil. Okay. So you're going to need a shock cap. And an AX30112. AX30112. The ones that go on the bottom of the shock are more than likely the same ones that go into the links. Yeah. Okay, so the same little bushings that go into links actually go into the shaft of the shock, or the bottom of the shock, whatever. Alright, so now we have the shock cap. And AX30112, that's what we were trying to find. Okie dokie. Our little silicon cup. Okay. And again, the drawing does not show, but it's a little silicon cup. Holy smokes, these shocks are something else. Alright. Filling with shock oil. Messy job, can be messy job. This is where you get mad because stuff leaks all over you. So, we'll get out the old shock oil. And again, I'm using exactly what they sent. 30 weight Axial shock oil. Alright, now it says shock oil, and it shows a picture of you filling it up. Doesn't tell you how far to fill it up. Don't go all the way to the top, because when you move the shaft the first time, you're going to have shock oil all over everything. So fill the shock just short of the top. And then move the shaft up and down. As you can see, I definitely got shock oil all over my fingers already. When you push that shaft up, push it slow. And again, look and see. You'll see the bubbles. I don't know if this camera is going to show or not, but you can see bubbles coming up into the shock oil. And once you get all those bubbles out by moving the shock up and down, then you got all your air out. Okay, so once you figure out what the heck's going on, then you can fill them back up to nearly the top. Don't fill them all the way to the top, because you got to put this little cup in here, and this little cup goes down inside the shock, and then your cap goes on. All right, now on the bottom of the shock here, there's a little nut, plastic nut that's screwed into the very beginning. Okay, you want to make sure that's tight. You want to make sure the cap's tight, but don't over tighten them. I put a screwdriver in here, take a pair of needle nose pliers, and twist the bottom and the top at the same time until you feel that they're tight. And don't get stupid like I am. I'm sure there's a wrench for this. And then work your shock and see if there's any leaks. Okay, shock is finished to that point. Okay, then you find the spring. Front shocks have a yellow mark. Yellow mark at the end of the, and then you have to find the spring cup. Here, and whoa. That goes on the bottom of the shock, and the spring goes over there, and you have your spring. And with that, we have no leaks. They feel pretty stiff. Again, we put the valve in there that has only two holes in it. Again, let me state, the shocks, the very first thing on the shock diagram is right here where it says AX800335, AX800332. That should be 355 and 352. So the drawing is incorrect. Okay, so you guys need to pay attention to that when you get started. You have to, it took a little time for me to figure it out, and hopefully this helps you, keeps you from wasting as much time as I did trying to figure out which one of these parts trees these parts are on. Okay? Okay, the battery died on my camera, so I don't know where we're at. Okay, we got the 4 shocks done. Now we need to put them in the links on the axles. The rear shocks first with the red spring. Push it through the C channel. Line up the holes. Slide the screw through and put the lock nut on the screw. or bolt, whatever you want to call it. If it was a real truck, it'd be a bolt. So let's call it a bolt. And then tighten. Again, your trusty little wrench. And you do that 3 more times. Red on the back. Or rear. Line up the holes, put on the nut, and away you go. Pretty simple. Okay, got the shocks on the front and rear axles. Looking pretty good so far. Okay, so the next part of this will be the transmission. Again, this is in plastic bag too, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So if you guys like this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll continue with the drive shaft and motor assembly. Drive shaft, transmission assembly, and putting on the motor in the next video. Y'all have a good day.